saying things out loud often helps. So anyway, let's get a look at this. So we're going to go into at the app level. So this is Noodle. If you already know Noodle, great. If you don't know Noodle, this is a low code development environment. It means that we have a kind of design editor and an IDE, as they call it, and what is it, integrated development environment. So it's kind of like that, where you have some nodes and some code. A lot of Noodle is done with nodes, these little blocks that represent things, and then a lot of it is done with blocks of code of JavaScript. The whole system is based on React, so the sort of hierarchy and the object model is based on React, a React framework. And so just taking a quick look at how we're going to do this, you have a thing at the top called Sheets. Sheets is kind of like a folder, like a top level folder that contains any kind of components and even pages of your app. So I'm going to create a sheet called login and sign up, so that I can keep the specific login and sign up stuff in here. Keep it separate. This, I've got default. I've got an experiment sheet which contains. We already did an experiment with ChatGPT to have a look to see. It was a feasibility study about the AI assistant that I showed you earlier. So that's in my experiments sheet. I keep that in there, and I put, like, if I'm building a new component and I don't know exactly where to put it yet, or I'm just testing it to see if it works before I mess up an existing page, I'll put it in experiments and make like an experiment page like this. So I'll do new page component, experiment. So I'll put stuff in here and then go and have a look in the page hierarchy at the experiment page, and add things in there. So it could be a good place to start, maybe with the login. I'm not sure if I might just want to start with a login page. The question in my head is, do I want to have a login page, or do I want a login pop-up? If I arrive on the dashboard, should I see a pop-up that says, hey, you're not signed up? I would say probably not, because I currently don't have the plan to do a landing page presentation of LearnBook that leads them, access my space, and then if they don't have a password, or if they're not logged in, then Access My Space would throw the pop-up and say, you're not logged in, please log in. I don't think I'm planning on having that. I think probably for the moment I might get somebody to develop an external landing page, and then for the moment what I'll have is just a login page. So before we get to the dashboard, which I'll already create a sheet for because I know I want it, so I kind of get my head organized as well around the project little by little as I do this. Default, I would just store it, just leave it there, and I would store a lot of overall reusable components that I reuse in a lot of different places in the app, so I know where they are. I have one drawer that's not specifically, like a loading pop-up or an are you sure pop-up, or maybe a pop-up reusable that can be transformed into lots of different types of pop-ups. So I'll leave that there, but I'll create a dashboard sheet. That's where I'm going to put all the dashboard stuff, and then login and sign up, I'm going to use that as a full page, so that if I have an external landing page, then the user will fall upon a you're not authenticated sign up or login page, because I want to have that space where it says, are you a teacher, are you a learner? I don't know what it's going to say yet. We're going to have to figure that out and try to do it in the style of the rest of the app. So I'm not entirely sure which style we should copy yet, actually, because we don't have that many kind of dashboard pages. I wonder. That's dashboard again. The main dashboard's okay, but is that really what I want the style to be? I guess I don't have much of a choice. Yeah, no, well, we'll see. The login page will probably come from the designer pretty soon. Let's just do a kind of blank thing with a, I'll keep it coherent to this. So let's do something with the LearnBook logo at the top, and just a kind of central login block with somewhere around there a kind of explanation as to, are you a teacher or are you a learner? So login and sign up. So how this works in Noodle is you've got the node graph that you can see here in the middle or wherever you want it to be. And on the right side here, I've put my, what is actually a kind of mini web browser thing, like a viewer. So it's like a local host version of the Noodle project that I'm building. And I like to put it side by side when I'm on the big screen like this. And then I know that I'm in, you know, responsive mode as well. I can kind of design it for, say, like 500 pixel width. And if I need to, I can drag it out to see what it looks like and kind of squish it down to 300, 310 to see what a really small mobile would look like. So let's keep it at about 500. And let's create a page, because right now we're on the experiment page. So what you see here is not necessarily what you're currently seeing here. You can browse through the node graph and different pages and components without changing what page you're currently visualizing in the preview. So let's create a login page. It's going to be called login. Why not? Keep it simple. So we created a page and we get an initial page element. That's really important because it's very unique to the pages, and a page inputs component. So if you're coming from the Bubble world, the page inputs component is path parameters, which are like where in Bubble a page would have a content type, and then the page would be like learnbook.net/login/ and then like user's unique ID. That would be a path parameter. And the query parameters are the standard URL query parameters. So like question mark, user ID equals blah, 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 ampersand, token ID equals. And so you can add multiple query parameters to this. So we're going to do that later. We're probably going to add a query parameter that's called invite token. And then we're going to take that query parameter out of the page inputs and test it to see if it actually exists or not. If the person has selected learner and the invite token doesn't exist, then we can do something about that. So at page level, you've got standard things like what the title of the page is going to be in the so we could call it like LearnBook login, for example, make it a bit prettier. And the URL path is just going to be login. There we go. You can have like page padding, which is nice. They're starting to do work in Noodle on SEO, so you can do like a description that would come up in, so you'd have the title and the description in the Google results. Robots, I haven't really looked at that yet. Open Graph, haven't looked at it. Twitter, don't know. And you can add a sitemap as well, which is pretty cool. So that's coming along to make it a bit more browser friendly, search engine friendly. So we've got our page element. We need to now do, so the React, or I guess it's React, works on that kind of bootstrap-ish format where it's columns and rows, so horizontal and vertical layouts is what Noodle call them. So we need to just think kind of very quickly about what that's going to look like. We need to have a main container that contains the login box, because we want to constrain the login box to be like centered on the page always, no matter what height your screen is, and centered horizontally no matter what width your screen is, and to have it small enough that it can just sort of stay in the middle, like float in the middle. So we're going to want a group container and then a group login box, and then within that we'll have subgroups, but just to know what the like initial page is going to look like. We'll keep it white for the moment and just leave it. So we're gonna right click on the node graph, or you can click, is there a plus somewhere? Yeah, there's a plus up here. I don't use that because right clicking means that whatever you select will go where you right clicked, whereas this, it adds visual components below the last visual component in the hierarchy, in the tree, which is annoying, so I don't do that. So you'll see me only ever right clicking. I never use this button. I started using this button, and then somebody, clever person from Noodle, told me not how to do it without that button, and now I never use it anymore. So right click and go group. So there's maybe we take a quick look through the UI elements. So you've got groups, columns. So columns is handy if you want to have responsive columns, that sort of Bootstrap style, to say what your column layout is going to be and that sort of thing. Text elements, images, so yeah, all the usual stuff. We'll probably be exploring a lot of this, but you can see the basics of what this is just pre-formatted HTML elements in Noodle. One thing that's really cool about Noodle is, although they have all these pre-formatted elements, there's a lot you can do making your own elements. So you might say, oh, but there's not a, there's an image, but there's not like a image slider. That sucks. But like, well, no, the whole idea of Noodle is either someone's made a prefab, and this prefab library is growing pretty quickly because a lot of people are making these. If you say, oh, there's no date picker, yeah, there is actually. And if you use that date picker, clone that date picker, it will show you how that element that in other builders would just be like a single element is actually a composition of a lot of different visual and logic elements. And cloning it, you can actually go in Noodle and see how the person built it, because it's not just like a pre-packaged thing. It comes as, it comes as a reusable node, but you can click into the node and see all the visual and logic nodes that make it up, and actually edit them if you want to, change things. Like if it's American date and you want it to be in European date, you can go and change it. So this is really cool, and you're going to see this a lot in what I do is building my own little elements when one doesn't exist. So you might think this is a bit scant in terms of what exists, what's offered out of the box with these nodes, but actually it's just because these nodes, you can use them to build your own stuff. If you wanted an image slider, you would start constructing a reusable element with a image and some icons for like the left and right buttons, and some logic that says, if I'm on the last image, don't show the right arrow, and if I'm on the first image, don't show the left arrow. You just build these things yourself, and it's pretty quick. So it gives you a huge power of personalization, which I really appreciate. Anyway, I could talk all night. So let's do group, and we have to drag it down and put it under the page. There's only one place it can go, which is as a child. So you can see that when it's kind of offset, that means it's a child, right? So then it becomes a child of page. I'll give you an example. If I put another group, you'll see that group can be either a sibling of group, so it's on the same line there, do you see? Or a child of group, or a sibling of group. So a child we want because this is going to be inside. This is for me, you need to name every single element. Doesn't matter if it's boring, doesn't matter if it's a banal element, if it's just a bloody icon. Name everything, because I have done that up till now. I never did it with Bubble, and my apps were like sometimes really difficult to understand for other developers who were coming in and working on them after me. So to my shame. So now I name all my elements. So this is going to be the main container. We don't need it to have any special padding or margins. It doesn't need any special alignment. It's going to be explicit width and height, and the default is 100% and 100% width and height. So that means that that group is the whole way across. So if we color it, you can see where it is. Oh no, we can't. Oh yeah, of course. Why can't we? This is great. This is one of those great Noodle mind bending activities, because I'm building something and in the preview it's still on the experiment page. So I need to go from the experiment page to the login page, and now we see the group. So there, it's the main container. So that was where I changed the color there. So see, right? If I changed that and did like 50-50, then it goes 50% width, 50% height. Why it has just gone 50% full screen height, I have no idea. One thing I do not like is our CSS rules and the whole CSS game. I do my best, but most of the time I'm just clicking things until it looks the way I want it to. And I don't care why. I don't know why it's content height or whatever. I mean, I know those things, but I don't know why this isn't doing 50% height. So see, if I fix it, it just disappears. Anyway, let's say that's broken. No biggie. And I could have it centered or, you know, middle aligned. That doesn't work. But anyway. Or I can reset this handy little reset button here. If I started messing with things, I can just reset the defaults. So I'm going to put that back to being transparent. And then this group is the one that we want to be kind of smaller, I suppose. So let me think what we're going to do here to make sure that it looks good on mobile, that it's kind of nearly touching the edges on mobile, but it doesn't go over a certain width. We're going to set, of course, a max width. So we're going to say that the max width is going to be 500 pixels. I don't know. Sometimes I just set the numbers again and I just look and like, yeah, that looks good. So let's give it a color so we know where it is, or like a border or something. The color's a bit weird. Let's give it a border there. So yeah, no, that's not good. I haven't named it yet. So this is going to be the login box. Where the heck is it? When you roll over an element, it goes blue in the editor. I think my element is like full page width at the moment. Oh yeah, of course, because I'm at 500 width. Ta-da! So go back up and we'll make that centered and we'll make it vertically centered. And now we need to give it a vertical. What I want to do is actually give it the vertical height of its content. I don't want to set a minimum and then actually end up adding more stuff and it sort of pushes it out. But yeah, maybe a minimum height. Just do a minimum height of like 300 pixels. And then we're going to say that it is content height and explicit width. There we go. So it makes a nice little login box. Pretty. I'm not going to keep a border. I'm just doing it because we're in the middle of developing it. So in the login box then I need to have, I guess, I don't know, like a text, maybe title sort of text. Like let's put, so that's a child of the login box. So let's put the text, we're going to call that title text. Again, name all the elements. What's cool is the name of the element comes up and then the type of the element comes up below it, so you don't lose the basic notion of type. I remember with Bubble, it would pre-name something group A, or whatever. And if you want to rename it, you would have to keep group in the name, or else you would, when typing and trying to find something, you wouldn't necessarily remember what type of object it was. Whereas with Noodle, you've got those in the name. And with Noodle, one thing that's super, super good that was never the case with Bubble, if this search thing up at the top left, the search is super powerful. If I type in main, it'll bring up main container and the page router, which has a name called main. So it searches the names that you've typed and also the type of thing that it is. Group, see, group. So even though I renamed them to login box, it comes up as group login box. It's called login box. It's great. So it means you search, and every time you do that, you're searching the whole app. So you saw that, like, I got the app level thing, app component, that's in a different page, but that it comes up, it searches immediately through everything you've done, and it even searches through functions, scripts. So the JavaScript that you've typed, if you're trying to find a particular script that you typed before, you can actually type the part of the JavaScript and it'll search within the function of the script, which is a real godsend. Anyway, so search is great. Come back to the components tab. So we have a title text, and the title text, there's some basic styles already made when you start the app. So let's say it's going to be title small. No, that's not good. Title medium. It's not bad. Title large. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. This looks awful, but it's a good start, I guess. You maybe didn't believe me when I said I'm not a front-end designer, but now you do. So let's say login. And then we're going to say something like, that's a quick Control C, Control V you saw there, by the way, sorry. So Control C, Control V, which is probably not good because actually I shouldn't copy and paste things in general, but I shouldn't also do it when I've just made this and I haven't styled it properly. So text styles, I would normally do text width and height. So then you can see the little blue box is showing me that it's now like really constrained to the size of the text. I'll do that with this one as well. And so this one I wanted to say welcome, so we'll call that welcome text. And go to Learn Book. Please log in below. I always end up saying sign in and log in. I mix them up. Sign in is like, sign in maybe is more sign, like sign something, like use your hands. And so it might be, you know, is that more something that more people would recognize, or is log in something everybody knows what a login these days is? That's a hard question. You just don't know who's going to be using your app. So should you use something that semantically sounds like something you would sign in is when you come to a, you know, anybody who's ever been working has come to a company at some point and had to sign in their book to get into the company. So yeah, anyway, I'm not going to change it right now, but we'll just leave it like that. Why would you put a colon? Who puts colons? Stop maybe? Does that look better? Yeah, please log in below. Anyway, so we're going to put, this is really just like throwing together the teacher login thing with no care for, is it a teacher, is it a learner, all the stuff I talked about earlier. So we're not really, I just want to put the basic elements in place so I know they're here. So I'm going to put a text input here. So look at the nice simple text input that Noodle offers. They have text that goes in like placeholders, stuff like that. So I'm going to type your email. This is just for logging in, so your email. We're going to make it an email field, so that'll make it easier to validate. It'll auto validate, I guess, as an email. And you can turn on or off the label, which is a nice feature. I like that because, you know, don't want to have to do that by myself. So we'll say your email, make it consistent. You can change the spacing if you want it to be higher or lower. You can change the text style if you want it to be a bigger label. Maybe you want to make it label medium. There we go. And looking good. Well, I mean, it's looking terrible, but you know, functionally speaking, it looks good. This is where I would say this is perfect. Don't need to change it. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Spacing out elements, why would you need to do that? It's ridiculous. Anyway, we will do it because I have to. Your password. Now, again, other consideration. Are we going to do, so I'll make it a password field before I start going off on a tangent again. Are we going to make it that you use a password to log in, or should it be two-factor authentication? You use your mobile and like a text message to log in, a text code, or is it, you know, do you want to hook it up to Google Authenticator, or do you want to make it a magic login link where you get a token, session token, and then you click the link in the email and it logs you in automatically? I've kind of done a bit of everything, and I think the old email and password ends up always coming back. You know, people think it's a great novelty to have the to have like a, you know, like a two-factor authentication thing for just for logging in. Like, oh, people who log in don't even need a password anymore, they just log in with their phone. So cool. Like, yeah, it's a good security measure on top of having a password, but in the end they all come back to saying, yeah, people didn't really understand the mobile thing, and so can we just go back to, people were asking me like, why can't I just put in my password? Like, okay, if your users are asking you that, it's probably because they want to do it and you should just do it. So your email, your password, and then we'll do something like I forgot my password group, I guess. Why a group? Because then it will make it, I can make it clickable and kind of size it a bit better. So we'll take a text, stick it in here and say, forgot your password, question mark. It's kind of nice. I like that. sort of asking a question, you know, like instead of saying reset your password and assuming the user knows that they want to reset their password, or maybe they don't have that wording in their head, and so they don't actually know that that's what they want to do. So maybe just ask I like that idea of asking questions, you know, have you forgotten your password? You can make it really long and eloquent if you want, or just leave it as something like this. So the text is small, the group is huge because the group is doing 100%. So it's saying, oh, I've got a good bit of space here on the bottom, I'm going to take it all up. And that's not what we want. And so we're going to make this one content width and height, even though I said I wanted it to be a bit of a bigger clickable area. But we're going to fix that by adding some padding. So 5, let's do 5, 5, 5, 5. Oh yeah, that's not 5. French keyboard problems. Yeah, okay. Oh. So that looks a bit bigger there. Forgot your password. And then we'll make it a clickable thing. So groups are not by nature clickable, and it's not like in Bubble where if you add a workflow, then the cursor becomes a pointer, and instead of like here it's a text and I can select the text. So we're going to go and say, if we want a group to be clickable, then we go to the bottom of the settings of the group to get the CSS style. This is cool, they added this recently, that they've got a tag div. You can tag it as like a section, article, stuff like that if you're making a blog. So that's better for SEO, that's a very recent thing. But anyway, I leave it as div for the moment, and I'm going to put CSS style, and I'm going to say, what was it? Cursor pointer. Is it with a semicolon after? I don't remember, just leave it like that. Yes, a semicolon. So cursor double point pointer, it means that the next time I go back, ta-da, it turns into a pointer. So now it looks like it's clickable. So just to do that with CSS rather than in Bubble doing it with workflows. And we're going to center that because that looks better. Ta-dam. And we'll center that title as well so that people stop cringing watching this. Okay, that looks a bit better. And the welcome text maybe too. Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit more consistent. Please log in below. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. And then we're going to say another group. So I just copy. If you copy paste the parent, it copies and pastes all the children as well. And you'll see that currently I've copied and pasted it, and it's saying this node is detached from the main node tree. So anything that's not in the tree somewhere will not be rendered in the page. If I stick it anywhere in the tree, then suddenly it appears. So that's cool. And then I can take it out and stick it wherever I want. So let's put it here. This is a little bit fiddly. If you want to put something as a sibling of the parent of the last group, if that makes sense. I mean, you can see what I'm doing. Maybe that makes more sense. If I put it here, it becomes a child of the forgot password group, which is not what I want. I actually want it to be a sibling, so I'm going to put it like, you see here it's the child of forgot password group. Here it's on the same level as the group, so it becomes a sibling, so that's better. And this is the, what did I say it was? Go to sign up group. So this is going to be, if we change the text, it'll change the name, I think. Don't have an account, sign up. Something simple. Yeah, so it changes the name of the text. That's handy. I don't have to rename that myself. And it should also have the, yeah, it has the same CSS rule. Because we copy pasted it, it also copy pasted all of the parameters. So that's cool. That's good. Okay, and now we are going to make this not look so ridiculous. So let's do a couple of little changes. We're going to add a vertical gap. Let's put 20 because I like 20. 20 is the magic number for me. That looks good. This one not so much because it's kind of touching the bottom now. So what I would like then is to have some padding. Top padding 20. Bottom padding 20, and then that makes the same sort of space. And then left and right padding, let's go 20 and see what it looks like. It's probably not enough. No, it needs more than that, 40 maybe. Yeah, it's looking better. This text is overflowing. Look. So that, yeah, you can see the 40 line is where the inputs are. This text is overflowing. Texts are a little bit funky in Noodle. I'm trying to wrap my head around them, so forgive me if I don't do this right. We're going to make that, so we don't even need to make that center line. It's something about, no, it wasn't about word breaks, it was about, come on brain, it wasn't word breaks. Content, yeah, because it's content width and height. So because it's content width and height, it says, I don't care that my parent is, 400 and something pixels, I'm 500 pixels, and so the content that I have on one line is 500 pixels, therefore I'm at 500 pixels. I'm going to overflow, I don't care. So what we want to do probably is to take away the text width element of that. Or we could have put it in a group if we wanted to contain it and make it a bit more responsive, but let's just say it's an explicit width and height. The explicit width is 100%, so then that respects the width of the group, the parent group. And we obviously don't want this below to be there, and so we're going to change that to center aligned. Now it looks stupid because it's please log in new line below, and that's not very nice. I guess if it was responsive, it's probably going to look good, but let's see. Yeah, in responsive mode that looks good. Maybe what we want to do is have it on 2 lines by default. So let's just do a little line break there. Welcome to the Learn Book, please log in below. That's better. So then it's consistent between the sort of desktop view and the